Yo, people, welcome back to another episode of Progress Interviews. Today I'm joined with by a very special guest, um, someone you probably have never heard of before, but that's all about to change today. I'm here with Minh from Plastic Pitchfork, a Vietnamese band that I found randomly scrolling through Bandcamp. And I really was drawn towards their sort of fun and playful style of recording music. So I decided to reach out, and here we are with a little interview for you. So, yeah, I mean, do you want to introduce yourself first before we kind of get started?
Sure. So we're Plastic Pitchfork, and we're kind of part of the Hanoi scene, but not really. And I don't think we really have any fans because we're too young for the old people and too old for the young people. Is how I see it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. And so, what's your role in the band again? You're the main singer guy, right?
Yes, I sing in the band and I write all the songs. We have So I play lead guitar, and then my friend plays rhythm guitar, and we have a drummer who's just some guy we know, but we had a different drummer before, but we kind of like we wanted more stability, so we kind of kicked him out. Yeah.
Hmm, I see.
Mhm.
Fair enough. So yeah, can you just kind of talk through the songwriting process? Pretty much all the other artists that I've interviewed has been like a
Yeah.
solo artist or just a rapper or something. So
Mhm.
now it's a band. How does that dynamic work, and how do you kind of coordinate all the different ideas that you have together?
We all went to school together, so this band primarily we played at like talent shows and things because there
Right.
are not a lot of places to play in Hanoi, especially if you're singing in English, because it's like not a lot of people like there speak English, so it's a bit like oh shit, you know. So
Hmm.
we play a lot together at talent shows and we practice like after school. We'd go to practice rooms and pay like $4 an hour. So interesting to note, we actually recorded the album in a practice room because we couldn't afford a real recording studio, and that's why it sounds very rough. Yeah, but
Hmm.
in terms of songwriting, I did most of it. So usually I'd come to the practice room with like a line or just a bunch of chords, and then we'd kind of figure it out together. With drums, I didn't really have a say in that. I don't really know how to play drums, so I'd be like simpler or more dancey, and then you'd have to react to that. With the melodies and chords, I wrote most of that, and the lyrics I wrote all the lyrics. Yeah.
Uh, why did you decide to be an English speaking band?
My Vietnamese is really shit because I think
Okay.
it's really shit. I mean, I can speak Vietnamese and I can read it, but it's like I can't really say anything interesting in
Okay,
Vietnamese
I
compared to
see.
English. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mhm.
I guess kind of why it would be my question, because obviously if you were kind of born in that
Yeah.
country, you kind of expect to be, fluent, but maybe you had more
Well,
Western and
yeah,
English influences.
yeah. I think that's primarily that because it's like you don't know nobody's ever really heard of any Vietnamese bands, and I've been to concerts with Vietnamese bands, and it's usually well, I feel like a lot of indie bands nowadays are playing in bars and stuff, and that's more interesting. But if you went to like a concert like 5 years ago, it was usually it's very cheesy
Hmm.
Vietnamese like rock music. It's very like oh yeah we really like Linkin Park and Scorpion. Let's make music like them, and it's just like oh no, you know.
Yeah.
So I think when I was starting the band, I was like, okay. I don't want to do this. I know I don't want to do this. So what else can we do?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's okay. I do have a question kind of leading on from that, and that is, and I
Yeah.
guess you might have touched on it already, but what is like the general perception of people in Vietnam towards younger people trying to experiment with a new sort of sound or style? Um, for example, in the UK, it's very much like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
you do your thing, it's sick, it's cool. I don't know, is
Mhm.
that kind of different? Is there a different mentality?
I'd say it's a lot harder to find places to play. Like it's a lot harder because you kind of have to grind through a lot of open mics, and
Hmm.
it's like a terrible time there, honestly, at open mics. I remember we played a concert and we sat there 40 minutes listening to a guy do like salsa music. It was really weird. Yeah, so if you want to be like a young musician in Vietnam, there's like a lot of grinding, and I feel like it's less about whether or not you're really good at music, I'd say, because there are a lot of artists I think I've like want to go see, and they've been really good, but it's more about how like sociable you are. It's like in Vietnam, the cream of the crop doesn't really rise to the top, I'd say. I mean, there's some good artists who are really good, but it's like you kind of have to be more social than we were, I guess, because I think we just kind of
Hmm.
like played music, didn't run any social media, and just kind of
Hmm.
put ourselves out and just played. But I think if you want to be a successful musician, I think not just in Vietnam, but maybe in like, anywhere, you kind of have to be better at that than we were. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Why? Okay. Okay. So you've moved to Australia, right?
Yes.
Is that like
Yeah.
a more of a permanent move or just like a
It's
temporary?
just for education because I'm going to college
Right.
here because
I see.
English speaker. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of, are your friends also in Australia or are they still in Hanoi?
Our drummer is still in Vietnam, but the other guitarist is in the room over. He's my roommate, but
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
want to bring him in because he gets very nervous when it comes to things like talking on stage and stuff. And
Yeah.
usually I have to do it. So he's here, but I don't think he wants to come over. Yeah.
All right. No worries.
Yeah.
So, what is kind of the future of Plastic Pitchfork? Are
I think
you?
it's we went away from performing a lot because we didn't really see the
Mhm.
point because we got really good at it, I think. But it was like some shows we'd go to and there'd be people, but most of the time it was just like us playing into an empty room, and it went like that for
Yeah.
like since I started high school for about 4 years. So it's like at this point we just kind of write songs and we record them together, but it's less about playing live for us, I think, because it's like it's hard because it's more for fun, I think, now
Hmm.
than before.
Hmm.
And it's a bit like freeing in a way because now I don't really care what people think about my songs. I just can kind of like write it because it's a lot of the songs on Bandcamp are pretty old actually. I think I wrote a lot of the songs when I was like 15, 16. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm. So the band is still going to be active,
yeah, just
yeah,
not playing live as much.
not
Yeah,
playing that. Okay, interesting. No, that's good because I was a bit worried.
yeah.
If it's going to be like one of those instances where you kind of put out an album and then like that's it, no more. But
No, yeah, we're
I'm
still
glad.
writing new stuff, just not playing because
Yeah.
it's like well, it's a bit weird right now because we planned on maybe playing some of mics in Australia, but then our other roommate got COVID, so it's like, oh shit, let's
Mhm.
not go anywhere. Let's not spread
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess outside of music, how has it been transitioning from Vietnam to Australia? If there are like any cultural differences you've noticed, or were you quite prepared for that move? Was it
I
been
think
quite smooth?
it's weird, honestly, because Vietnam is very like its own thing. I think like I used to say a lot, it's like if you technologically, Vietnam is like 5 or 10 years behind anywhere else. And
Hmm.
when we came over here and there were like the what do you call it? The self checkout at the
Hmm.
supermarket, we just didn't know what we were doing. And then, like this one of the employees had to come up and help us, and she seemed like super annoyed because we're like we look pretty old. We're like I have no idea how to use this, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty
No.
funny. I mean, we've gotten more used to it now. Or like going on the bus and you don't use cash, you use like your
Yeah.
phone to pay. It's like holy shit, dude. It's like oh man, yeah,
Yeah. Interesting. No,
yeah.
that's good. That's good. Have you been to America?
I went to America once when I was like a lot younger. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was like less permanent then because I'm staying here for like months on end. I feel like when I went to
Hmm.
America, it was more just like, I'm here for like a week and I come back, so I didn't really have to like adjust to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now it's like I
Yeah.
have to go to the supermarket every week, and it's like I don't want to. You got to get used to using the self checkout, you know? Yeah,
The damn self-checkouts, man.
yeah, yeah.
Um, no, that's cool. That's cool. Just kind of going back to some of the work that you've got. So essentially,
Hmm.
Lukewarm Milk,
Yeah,
great name, uh,
yeah.
is a redo essentially of your ex's mixtape, the
Yes.
project.
So that was when we had the old drummer with your ex's mixtape, and we were playing in high
Uh-huh.
school and stuff. And with the new drummer he was a guy who was it was very funny actually. So we were trying to get shows, and then we like talked to a couple of musicians who were like friends with my teacher, like my guitar tutor, because that's how I learned. And they were like, "Yeah, sure, you can play." So we commented on their Facebook wall, like, "Hey, can we play?" And then like 2 years later, one of their employees read that post and was like, "Hell yeah, you guys can play!" And then he's the guy who became our second drummer. He just found us from like a Facebook post, but we hang out a lot. He's pretty cool. His
Oh,
name
nice.
means he's listed as a drummer on a new one. His name means boil in Vietnamese. That's his like nickname. He's a very cool guy.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
plays
So
he plays drum for he plays drums for like another band now because we're not in Vietnam, but wish that guy the best of luck. He's a really cool dude.
yeah, nice. So why did you decide to redo that album? Why not like,
Uh,
you know, I mean there
I
are
think it's
some new tracks on
because
the new one, but
I think it's because with that original one, we weren't I think kind of ready to record. We were still really rough around the edges, especially in my singing, which is something where
Mhm.
I noticed after I took out my wisdom teeth, I was better at singing, which was like,
All right,
yeah,
interesting.
I didn't think that happened, but it did. So we kind of wanted to redo it because we were all, I mean, it doesn't sound that great, and we were still getting used to like doing everything ourselves because we we didn't know how to record back then like at all. We recorded most of the stuff together and it just sounded like shit. So we're like, okay, we still have these really great songs, but how can we make them like listenable?
Mhm.
So when we went around next time, we kind of had like a better idea of what we were going for with recording, especially because the songs are still like the same. It was just like, how do we make them sound like, I think the audio quality in this newer release isn't necessarily the best, but it's all more cohesive because it's like
Mhm.
we know we're going for like garage punky, but we can do it a lot better now.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
think it definitely comes through, and I agree with your decision because you know
yeah,
if I listen to the initial draft version, I
yeah.
probably wouldn't have like enjoyed it to be honest.
No, it's
But
not good.
it's good that you have that sort of insight to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's try it a different way, and I think it's really worked out for you. I guess we could talk a little bit, or you could talk a bit about the cover for the album that you did,
Yeah.
called Lukewarm Milk. Is
Mhm.
Yeah, what is it? Is it a family gathering or
Yeah, I was feeling a bit homesick after moving to
yeah,
Australia, and then we were releasing it then. So I was like looking through just a bunch of pictures. I'm like, oh, this is a really nice one, because
yeah,
it's my siblings and my mom. During
hmm,
I think it was my birthday actually, and I took that picture, and I was like, yeah, because I think the entire album itself is pretty like nostalgic. It feels nostalgic because I wrote it when I
yeah,
was a lot younger and a lot more like
yeah,
angsty. So a lot of the songs are really angsty, and it kind of has a like nice feeling. I think one way I've heard like our music described a lot by our fans, so just like friends and family, it sounds kind of like the end of like a romantic comedy, like a coming of age movie, where like the sun's coming up and they're all like really drunk, like passed out on the grass. That's what it sounds like. Yeah,
that's pretty
yeah,
accurate. It does have that sort of nostalgic feel to it as well. I don't know if that's just
yeah.
the recording that you did or the aesthetic that you kind of went for, but
I think it's because I really liked the band Pavement when I was younger, and I still really like them, and I listen to them a lot, and I kind of like their influence kind of bleeds through.
hmm, hmm.
Yeah.
What other sort of music do you listen to apart from your
Uh, a lot of indie rock. So I really like Pavement. And
hmm,
when I was starting the band and I was like, what kind of music do we want to make, guys? We listened to a lot of Pavement and Strokes, and we were like, yeah, we can do this because it seemed very easy. And it was a lot more challenging than I thought it'd be, but it
hmm.
still wasn't that hard. What else? Just a lot of indie rock, I think. A lot of indie rock and a lot of Japanese 90s hip hop right now. There's a lot of that going
Oh,
on.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
old school stuff.
Some yeah, that's where kind of like the influence for the last track Ode to Hanoi. That was kind of like
Mhm.
I was listening to LCD Sound System and also like a bunch of like lo-fi Japanese hip hop, and I was like, I want you to do that. And I made him do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess so. In terms of, I think you touched on it already a bit, but in terms of like the next
Mhm.
your plan for the band in the coming months, years, for example,
Yeah.
what do you kind of have in mind? What do you envision? What is your kind of goals coming up?
I think we're gonna try to do another EP, but it's at this point it's always like it feels like it's less for other people and just kind of for us. Because I think
Mhm.
the way I feel about this release in particular is it's like I don't know. I managed to capture it like how I felt from 16 to 18. That's my roommate. And yeah, how I felt from like 16 to 18, like 19. So now it's kind of like this, and I don't know. I think at a certain point it got really hard for me to write songs, but now it's like kind of easy again. I guess like the newer stuff I'm writing is a lot less like hardcore, like a lot less punk rocky than it was, and there's like less pressure now that like before we had like a chance of becoming popular, but now that we have no chance of being popular, I don't feel the need to keep playing punk music at all. I can just do whatever I want. Yeah. So now it's like kind of like the weight's off my shoulders. I can just go
Yeah.
for whatever I want. It's a lot more. I mean, think about the newer stuff. It's still kind of nostalgic, but it's a bit more like Disney. Yeah. A bit more. Yeah. It sounds a bit more Disney. That's how I feel about
Yeah.
it.
No, it's good that you feel a bit more free to kind of experiment and try different avenues rather than
Yeah.
going for like a specific sound or being a band known for like a specific
Yeah.
thing. So no, that's good. That's good. I ask this question to like pretty much everybody I interview. Who should we be paying attention to? What sort of creators, artists, I don't know, photographers, videographers that you might know in Australia or Vietnam or pretty much anywhere else that you've kind of had some interaction with that we should be, having our eyes on?
Miang, she went to high school with me. She's really good at singing. I think
Mhm.
she's like, holy shit, she's really good at singing. There's another band, Nam Te Zoi in Vietnamese. It means like Nam the world. I feel like we're better, but I mean, they did invite us to play a lot, so I kind of have to shout them out. Like they were like, "Hey, you guys want to play?" I mean, I think we're better personally, but I mean, they're more popular. Yeah, Nam Te Zoi
Yeah.
and Nam the world and Miang. Miang is I think she's on 88 Rising now, but I went to high school with her and she is really good. I think
Oh,
what she's
sick.
going for is like the thing she's going for really works for her. And I think yeah. And she really like put like the hard work in. Like I've seen her practice. It's like holy shit, dude.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think
Nice.
just in general, if anybody wants to get into music, it's like you really have to put in like the hard work and also become more social, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
you
an
got to make the
important skill.
connections.
Yeah, you gotta make
That's
the connections. Yeah.
half the game. Cool. Do you have any questions for me before we end it?
How did you decide to start this thing? You know?
Uh, I just realized that I was listening to a lot of music and it wasn't really going anywhere. And I thought, do you know what? Let's just start an Instagram page and see what happens. I think people ended up liking it, some of the stuff that I was doing,
Mhm.
but a lot of the early stuff was more focused on like UK hip hop and rap, especially from the
Yeah.
Birmingham area.
Mhm.
It still kind of is, it still has that focus, that local focus. But
Yeah.
I've started to kind of, in my personal music taste, branching out into other countries and scenes and
Yeah.
such, which is how I obviously discovered you. Um, but yeah, it was just kind of stemmed
Yeah.
from listening to a lot of
Browse
music.
browsing Bandcamp. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good old Bandcamp. Do you use it?
I use Bandcamp a little less. I think most of my stuff usually I kind of just search through music randomly on YouTube and Spotify, and then a lot of times it's my older brother who sends me stuff, and then I listen to that. I do think one thing though, like the Spotify algorithm is like pretty shit compared to the YouTube one. Like Spotify has better sound quality, but like YouTube will recommend you like weirder stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think YouTube doesn't have an algorithm; it just sends you
Yeah,
whatever. I
exactly.
think, and then
That's what's great about it. You know, with
yeah, yeah,
Spotify,
yeah,
you're just kind of trapped in your like mold. There's like a lot of weird shit, you know, on YouTube as well. That's not on Spotify because they don't have the licenses for it.
yeah, yeah.
There's like a lot. I think one thing before I go. So do you know the song "Close to You"? Why do birds Suddenly, yeah, that song. Harumi Hosono, I think Mac DeMarco said he was his favorite artist, did a great cover of it where he replaced every U with like me. It's like, why do bird? Because they're close to me. And it's the
Yeah.
greatest thing. And I just randomly got recommended that on YouTube. It was so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some of the stuff out there, but because of licensing issues and copyrights and everything, just doesn't end up
Just doesn't,
reaching
yeah, no.
the ears of
Oh,
many people.
one more thing before I go. There's like an orchestral version of the Earthbound soundtrack on YouTube, and that's really nice. I listen to that sometimes.
I have, speaking of Earthbound, I have found a jazz rendition of the soundtrack.
Shit.
So if you want to do a swap for swap, then
Okay, I'll send you that because it's like video game orchestral music where they got the actual like Tokyo orchestra to play it. It's like, oh my god.
oh wow, so it's like a full on.
Yeah, and it's only on
Job.
CD and not on Spotify. So some guy uploaded it to YouTube and I was like, this is good. Yeah.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, why don't you have social media?
We ran a page before when we were Gypsy Schoolgirls, but it was mostly my drummer, and then we kicked him out. So it's like, oh shit. And then I don't remember the login, so we haven't updated it since. And it's more just like, I don't know. It feels a bit weird to me running like a social media thing because I don't really like explaining what I'm doing besides this interview. It's more just like I like to put it out there, and if people like it, then it's good. If they don't, it's okay. It's mostly for me anyways. So
Yeah,
it's like how I kind of do music
fair
for
enough.
me now.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It definitely has its benefits not being on social media, especially for your own creative influences. So you're not just following trends and everything. But yeah, fair enough. That's been it. Yeah, thank you all very much for watching. And I hope you've enjoyed this rather random interview with Minh from Plastic Pitchfork. Excited to hear more. And yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Goodbye.